Alycats and new viewers. So today I wanted to review Black Mirror Season 3. I'm a huge fan of Black Mirror, and I was so excited when the third season premiered a couple of days ago as of the time of filming. I binged this season and finished it in 2 days. Black Mirror Season 3 is 6 episodes long, which if you've seen the previous 2 seasons, you know those each contained only 3 episodes. And I have to say, right off the bat, Season 3 is the best season of Black Mirror yet. And if you don't know what Black Mirror is an anthology series that a lot of critics and media outlets have described as the 21st century Twilight Zone. But Black Mirror centers on the negative impact that social media and technology has in our lives. Every episode is a standalone episode, so you do not have to have seen the previous 2 seasons or the Christmas special to enjoy the 3rd season. But if you have seen the previous 2 seasons in the Christmas episode, you'll appreciate how far the series has come, and you'll appreciate the advances the series has taken. Now I'm going to talk about each episode individually and give them their own rankings, but if you do not want to be spoiled, which I'm not going to spoil the episodes, but if you want to go in completely blind and not know who's in it, who's the director, and what the synopsis is, I'll leave a timestamp in the description box down below so you can jump ahead to my final verdict. Episode 1 is titled Nosedive, and it was written by Mike Schur and Rashida Jones. It is directed by Joe Wright and stars Bryce Dallas Howard. This episode is very prescient and of the moment because Bryce Dallas Howard stars as a woman named Lacey Pound, and Lacey is obsessed with being popular, and she lives in a society where everyone always has their smartphone out. And when you have an encounter with someone, you give them a rating between 1 and 5 stars. Obviously 1 star you've had a terrible experience with them, 5 stars was an amazing experience. And also, every video or photo you post online gets the same star rating treatment. So Lacey is obsessed with having a high popularity score because the higher your popularity is, the more perks you get. You get to live in fancier housing, you get to go through express lanes, you get to drive nicer cars, etc., etc. And she views people that have ratings below 4 as people she does not want to associate with. And as the episode goes along, she strives to become more and more popular, and you see how this has an effect on her and her family and friends, and how it affects her quality of life. And this episode is actually pretty scary when you think about it, because pretty much everyone nowadays has at least Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat or Instagram, and we're all striving for more friends, more followers, more likes. And it makes you feel more validated when you have so many likes and so many friends and so many followers. But you always have that aching feeling of wanting more, to see that number grow higher. And this episode taps into that brilliantly. And it's a scary thought to think that that could be our future. That is a very, very possible future where we'll have to live our lives dictated by how popular we are. Because basically life is already a popularity contest if you think about it. So I have to give major kudos to Mike Schur and Rashida Jones. Bryce Dallas Howard was amazing as Lacey Pound. This is one of her best performances to date. And I have to say, this is, in my personal opinion, the best episode of Season 3. So if you want to save it for last, you can. But I give this 5 out of 5 stars. Episode 2 is titled Playtest. It's directed by Dan Trachtenberg and stars Wyatt Russell, the son of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. Playtest is centered around virtual reality, so again, this episode is very prescient and of the moment, and it's quite scary. Wyatt stars as a man who has a girlfriend, and she is a huge gamer, and she has a magazine, and he picks it up one day and looks at it, and it's basically got her idol on the cover of the magazine. And he sees that this game developer wants volunteers to come and have an implant installed that permanently place them in virtual reality. So he's like, okay, cool, I'll do this. I'll go meet this guy so I can impress this chick. So he goes and volunteers, they accept him, and this VR implant is supposed to be as invasive as getting your ears pierced. So they just put it in the back of your neck, it's a sharp little sting, and that's it. And from then on, you're enabled to enjoy virtual reality, which, you know, sounds cool because you don't have to wear a bulky headset, you don't have to have a PC, it's just directly implanted into your spinal cord, basically. So at first he's loving this, he's playing whack-a-mole, and then they tell him that they want him to basically QA test their new survival horror game, where you're put into a mansion and it picks up from your memories stuff that scares you and it implants that into the mansion. So he's like, okay, cool, sounds fun. So at first he's enjoying it, but as things go along, things take sinister turns. I won't say anything more, but this is totally a horror episode, okay? This is a very scary episode because even though you might not be scared by what you see on screen, you should be scared by the thought that this could be our future and that this stuff could happen. This could be implemented and we could live in a virtual reality world where scary stuff happens. And this episode had me on the edge of my seat. I loved it. There were quite a few jump scare moments. I do have to say though that the ending was very abrupt and there were a few loose threads that I wish they would have developed more. So I can only give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, but I thought this was an excellent episode. It's very good for watching for Halloween because it is, like I said, a horror episode, and I think Dan Trachtenberg did a fantastic job directing, and Wyatt Russell is really good as the main character. Episode 3 is titled Shut Up and Dance. Episode 3 is, in my opinion, the weakest of the season, but that does not mean it's a bad episode, okay? Shut Up and Dance is about a teenage boy who one day is on his laptop and notices he has some malware, so he's like, okay, I'll download this malware service and get rid of the malware, like most normal people would. So he does, but when he does this, some company or some organization hacks into his laptop and they access his web camera and they catch him doing something he'd rather the whole world not see. So they use this as blackmail and they make him do things that, as the episode goes along, they escalate from just being like crazy stuff to dangerous and illegal stuff. And as he goes along, he meets a man who is played by Jerome Flynn. And let me just say, the whole episode, every time I saw Jerome Flynn, I'm just like, that is Sir Bronn of the Blackwater. What are you doing here? Because I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, and I could only imagine him as Sir Bronn in this episode. I'm sorry. But he did a fantastic job. I'm just saying. I just thought of Sir Bronn every time I saw Jerome Flynn. Getting back to the episode, though, Jerome Flynn's character gets roped into this scheme as well, and you see how this plays out. The ending of this is a saving grace for the episode because the ending was unexpected, but you have seen this storyline done before in other TV shows and movies. It's a formulaic episode. You know that as the episode goes along that they're going to do stuff that is more crazy, more dangerous, more illegal, and that something's going to happen that screws them over or saves them or whatever. So it's very formulaic. It's the least original of the episodes, but the acting saves it, plus the ending was pretty brilliant. So I personally give this episode 3.5 out of 5 stars. Episode 4 is titled San Junipero, and it's directed by Owen Harris, and it stars Gugu Mbatha Raw and Mackenzie Davis, and it's set in the small coastal town of San Junipero, and it follows 2 young women who are in their 20s. One is engaged and about to be married, the other is a free spirit, and she's a tourist to this town, and she just wants to have fun. And it shows how these 2 women meet, and it shows how they slowly fall in love with each other. As the episode goes along, you start to realize that things aren't as they seem. I loved this episode, but I did have a few issues with it. Several times during this episode, it just suddenly jumped from one location to another without any explanation. I'm just like, okay, we went from here to here, started from the bottom, now we're here. And it's just no explanation. And I do feel like they could have fleshed the episode out a little bit more, but I did love the performances. Gugu Mbatha Raw and Mackenzie Davis both gave amazing performances. They had amazing chemistry, and they were very believable as these 2 young women. Plus, San Junipero was a gorgeous location, and I thought it was a very smart episode because the technology aspect was very much in the background. This episode was the least technologically heavy of the bunch, but like I said, there were a few moments where it's just kind of like, oh, we went from here to here with no explanation, and it kind of just leaves you wanting more. So I gave this episode 4 out of 5 stars. Episode 5 is titled Men Against Hate, and it's directed by Jacob Verbruggen, and it stars Malachi Kirby, Madeline Brewer, and Sarah Snook. And Men Against Hate is basically about a group of soldiers who are sent to eradicate roaches. No, not cockroaches. These roaches are people who are basically really fast zombies. Like, think the zombies from 28 Days Later, something like that. So this military group is sent to eradicate roaches. They have implants in their brain that allow them to see layouts of the buildings they need to go to. They see profiles of people. This new recruit, played by Malachi Kirby, kills 2 roaches' first expedition, and everyone's super jealous. But the thing is, he had a light shown at him during his encounters with the roaches, and as the episode goes along, he starts to experience some weird symptoms, and he starts to question what the military group is up to. And this episode deals with xenophobia. It's very hard-hitting. This is quite a tough episode to watch at points because it's not afraid to go to brutal places. I love this episode. I thought it was very dark and gritty. It's almost like a war type of episode, but it's also very action-packed and it's also very thought-provoking. And I thought it touched on present-day issues very well, and I thought it was brilliantly written and that the performances were amazing. So I gave this episode 5 out of 5 stars personally. In the last episode, episode 6, is titled Hated in the Nation. It's directed by James Howes and stars Kelly MacDonald and Benedict Wong. And this is a mystery crime procedural thriller type of episode. And this is the longest episode of the season. Every other episode is about an hour long, but this one's an hour and a half long. And this starts out basically being your typical homicide thriller. These detectives are trying to decide who killed this woman, but things take a turn, and it quickly becomes a deadly game of cat and mouse for this group of detectives, and social media is involved somehow. And I love this episode personally, but I do think it was a little too long for its own good. I think if it was shorter and more briskly paced, it would have been more effective. But the performances were amazing. I love the suspense of the episode, and I love the twist that it took. If you're a fan of shows like Luther, Broadchurch, and The Killing, you will love this episode. If you're not a fan of those shows, this episode might not be your Jimmy Jam, but I gave this episode 4.5 out of 5 stars. So overall, Black Mirror Season 3 is the best season to date. I highly recommend you watch this. Even if you haven't seen the previous 2 seasons or the Christmas special, you can watch this and appreciate it for what it is. It is very prescient and of the moment, like I've said before. The acting is amazing. The production values are super high. And Netflix has outdone themselves with this anthology series. And these episodes are stronger than the previous episodes have been. I do highly recommend you give this a watch. You can easily watch this in 1 to 2 sittings because it's so absorbing and so fascinating. It really does make you think about your use of social media and technology, and it's very effective, and for that I have to give it major kudos. So I give Season 3 of Black Mirror 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's streaming exclusively on Netflix. All the episodes are available right now to watch, so I highly recommend you do so. If you like this video, please leave me a like. Let me know down below if you've seen Season 3 of Black Mirror, or if you're going to, what did you think about it if you have seen it. And if you like this video, share it, because that helps my channel grow, and it just helps me a ton. It just helps a lot, okay? So please share this video if you enjoyed it. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, but you liked what you saw and heard, please hit that subscribe button and join the Alycat family, because I would love to have you as a member, because this is a very positive, loving environment, and I try to make videos that are fun and entertainment related, and I would love to have you as a member of the family. Also, if you'd like to follow me on social media and you're not too scared off by the prospect of Black Mirror, you can find those links in the description box down below. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for watching, and be careful on social media. Peace and kisses. Bye.